Ladies and gentlemen, your brother Mike here. I want you to enjoy this episode with me and my buddy Chris Ruden. He was born a little different, but he does not let it slow him down. So enjoy. If you resonate with anything, leave a comment, like the video, subscribe. Let's make it happen. My second upload to YouTube. Look at that. So the reason I wanted to have you on, because I see you killing it.
I appreciate that.
Obviously. And, I'm attracted to people, not in a sexual manner. Just
Hey, it's okay. Whatever. You could have ended that sentence there, and I was like, "Me too, man. Me too."
right. I'm attracted to people that have an excuse or could use things as excuses, but don't. Just because, I grew up in just like a crazy environment, super poor, mom addicted to drugs, homelessness, like just tons of excuses that I could use as an adult and have used as a young adult. And it didn't do me any good. So now I'm just like attracted to that, the Rocky Balboa, just stay in the fight and just keep swinging.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to have you on.
I appreciate that. You were actually one of the first kind of book club accounts that I followed, and I was like, "Damn, this is some really good stuff." And I'm like, "Oh man, this is so exciting to see this is a thing," because a lot of people I encounter don't really read, or it's not common today, unfortunately.
Right.
Especially the work that I see myself doing. So I see that, and I'm like, "Oh, this is awesome!" And the fact that we're able to connect, I'm like, "Yes."
Right. And I was not a reader my whole life, that's for sure. I kind of stumbled into it, and I don't know, God's will just kind of forced me into a bookstore and read a book. You know what? Shit started to get better. So I was
in high school, I learned how to cheat, not how to read. So
right.
I learned how to read a book to pass a test, not to get the information. Now, hindsight, I'm like, damn, I really wish I would have read that book because it would have really helped me. Like, oh, Siddhartha, ew. I'm like, damn, dude, that would have helped me so much with all the shit I was going through. But obviously hindsight is 2020. It's easier to connect the dots looking backwards. But I'm glad now audiobooks and reading is a very important part of my business and my personal development.
Right. Did I catch a whiff or a scent that you're writing a book?
Yes, that is actually my book behind me.
Oh.
Yeah. So this actually comes out May 4th. It's called The Upper Hand, and obviously I always play with my disability, but
right.
It's about getting the upper hand over yourself, self-communication, and leveraging limitations to turn adversity into an advantage. I feel like that adversity or overcoming adversity is a universal language, and I'm sure we'll talk about it. I've gone to Africa, I've gone to Uganda and spoke to people in different dialects about a concept that is completely two worlds apart, but unifying in the sense of we all understand adversity and we all have different perspectives on adversity. And we work through adversity in different ways at different stages of our life. Like you, I was similar. And at a certain point, the adversity that killed me mentally, it's the same adversity I'm facing today. I just see it differently and I react to it differently. I speak on it differently. So it was never the disability or the homelessness or whatever. It was never the core concept that hurt you. It was the perspective, the story that you told yourself, and the behaviors that followed or that you allowed to follow that changed everything. So I've learned to take more responsibility and stop focusing on fault. And that's led me to where I am today.
Yeah. And so what do you think it was that changed in you? Because for me, I just kind of basically got sick of myself. You know what I mean? And I was in an environment where making a ton of excuses and blaming the man or whatever else on my current situation in life was rewarded. They'd always reinforce this belief that I had. And then I would go into different environments and they would make me feel stupid for making excuses that, that's not going to help you, right? And so you might as well just stop that. And I'm like, no, you don't understand.
Yeah. Oh, that phrase ruined my life, so to speak. Not ruined my life, but it made it a lot harder. No one will ever understand. Seeking to be understood, what a lot of people mean by that is they want you to experience life like they do, and that will never happen. So when you say you don't understand, you're effectively destroying the conversation. You're saying from this point moving forward, there is no more conversation because you will never understand me. I will never understand you. So that you don't understand is a moot topic. It's a point of closure, and it's building a brick wall around you, putting distance between you and responsibility. And that's what I did for a very long time. Mm-hmm. I would disassociate a lot. I would just pretend like the issues didn't exist. For a little bit, I got depressed and I went through, attempted like wanting to commit suicide and like a lot of bad stuff. I hung out with the wrong crowd, did drugs and did a lot of like bad shit. Mm-hmm. But after that initial like fight, it became, it's fine. Just sweep it under the rug. Oh, I just hide my disability. I hid my hand for 17 years.
Right. 17
years under a glove in my pocket, running, PE with my hand in my pocket with a backpack on because I was afraid to take it off. Like yeah. When I say that, I don't mean I hid it a little bit. Like I literally lived my fucking life with my hand in my pocket.
Right.
So I just told myself that was okay. I told myself that was the norm. Yeah. I kept telling myself what I was doing was fine. I lived in this purgatory of not good enough where I want it to be, but not bad enough to change. So I just cruised in the middle. And I constantly reminded myself that and I lived that life for so fucking long. Yeah. And there were so many moments, like there's a book called The Power of Moments, and I'm sure you're familiar with it. That kind of showed me, like, it's not just one, but there was many little decisions. But one that really sticks out to me is I was doing an event. I was speaking. I had become a speaker, still hiding my hand in front of people. This is years ago. And this little girl grabbed my residual limb that was hidden under a glove.
Yeah.
And she just looked at me and she was like, it's okay. You don't have to hide around me. But like, no more than that. Not the normal kid curiosity, not the normal, like, oh, what are you doing? Why are you hiding? Like, not to get me defensive. That genuine feeling of like, she sees me.
Right.
Most people see what I put out, but she sees me. And I was like, damn.
Kids will cut right through the bullshit.
Bro, like that. And usually kids, like kids can be, they can be annoying. And in the sense, like they want to know, like they'll badger you and that kind of stuff. I have a shield up, but that moment right there, I was like, oof, that was definitely one of those, like, think to yourself, sitting at moments. And I was like, she's right. Like, what am I hiding?
Right.
I decided to like take that glove off, and I kind of made a YouTube video and it went fucking viral.
Right.
It was a jump in the deep end moment. And I needed that, to be honest. Like, I needed to be pushed because I developed this false sense of confidence in a lack of authenticity. So much so that no one would question me because I'm too confident. Right. So I built a wall that was like impenetrable from the outside, but very easy to walk out of once I decided to.
Yeah. And that's when you kind of fall into like the darkest moments too, is when you're living, you're bullshitting yourself.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But you try and tell yourself you're not. Your darkest moments are falsely lit with, oh, I'm good.
Right.
You know what you're sweeping under the rug because that shit is probably a mile high by now. Mm-hmm. And because I ask people, I'm like, what's the biggest insecurity you have? I see this happen in their face. So anyone who's listening might kind of like tick a little bit. And then they say something else. And I'm like, no, go back to that first one. The first one that you pushed back under the rug.
Right, like,
acknowledge it. I know, because people be like, oh, what's your biggest weakness? And I'm like, it's my, desire to help people. Is to shut your bullshit.
Right. Right.
People, your biggest weakness is you don't accept yourself for who you are. Mm-hmm. Your biggest weakness is that insecurity that you haven't acknowledged and worked through. Your biggest weakness is exactly what you know it to be. And it's so scary to you that you're pushing it to the side. And if you're pushing things to the side, you need to pull them the fuck back, because that's what you need to work on to live quality of life. And that's my whole goal now, is quality of life. And it can't happen without authenticity.
Right. Because the man in the mirror tells the truth, right?
Yeah.
You look in the mirror, you can lie, you can pretend whatever you want to pretend throughout your entire social interactions of your entire life. But you can look in the mirror, that guy knows the truth. And you can't hide from him.
You want to know what's scary about the man in the mirror? For so long, I just didn't look in the mirror.
Right. Easy to avoid.
You don't have to face the man in the mirror when you don't see him. Tunnel vision.
Right.
And when you are so tunnel visioned into a mediocre purgatory life, it's time passes, man. And it's just, nothing is worse than just an okay life to me. You know, like if you truly are content with your life at it being at a certain level, completely fine. But if you know deep inside that you want more, but you're scared to go after it, you got to be real as shit with yourself. Like, and that's a lot of people, even me. I was so terrified to have that conversation with myself to the point where I wouldn't allow myself to get close, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until I set up some goals for myself, specific timelines, like measurable timelines on how I would stop hiding. I didn't know what was going to happen after that. And even in my book, in the upper hand, I talk about like burning yourself on a stove. We'd rather burn ourselves on controlled pain than potentially face the fear of the unknown pain, because at least we know how much this hurts. We would rather hurt ourselves in a controlled amount than risk random pain that we can't fathom, which might not be anything at all, for a better future.
Right.
Stay in the shit than get out of it. You know, and it's so crazy to me because I live that and so many people live that. And I'm sure you live that as well.
Mm-hmm. Dude, I thought so. Yeah, it's weird to think now that I was so insecure because I've put in so much work. My self-esteem was this shit. I mean, my mom would get high on drugs and just tell you you're worthless as a little kid. And the reason we're living on the streets is because blah, blah, blah. You know, just she doesn't mean it. She's taking out all the shit that she hasn't dealt with on her kids. But if you're 7 or 8 or 9, you don't know any difference. So you just take it in, right? So as an adult, I'm just manifesting this complete insecurity. And people are looking at me like, why are you insecure? Like athletic, not ugly, you know, like all these things that other people would consider an advantage, you know? And I'm just like, inside, I'm just like this little boy that's just like so insecure. Like you don't want to.
I do want to mention that though. I want to talk on that because those people, and it happened to me, especially in the disabled community, like, why are you hiding your hand? You know, we're confident. Why aren't you? That's invalidating someone's fucking feelings. Like they don't know your past and how you interpreted data before. They don't know your value system that got you to where you are. So although they see all of the things that they wish they had in you, they're assuming that you process things differently. Again, they don't understand, but they pretend like they do. And then they're quick to tell you, you should be this way. There's no such thing as should be or shouldn't be. I should have been more confident. No, I dealt with it as I did. Could I have done it differently? Absolutely. But that's not going to help me. You know, you telling me what I should or shouldn't do is not going to help me. What you need to do in helping people is ask the right questions, you know, lead people to the choice themselves instead of direct them as if it's so simple. You know, because at that moment when someone's like, oh, you should be confident, you're like, yeah, you know, I know. But in reality, that's just a block. You're like, push, you know, that didn't help you. Right. What helped you was when you made the decision for yourself to do your shit and get better yourself. You know, but people are so quick to spew their like all knowingness on you.
Yeah.
Because what they are doing is avoiding their struggles and their pain. Because it's so much easier to build someone else than it is to build yourself.
And I kind of become that guy by accident. And I'll tell you why. So I kind of become the guy that's like, you need to shut up with those excuses. You know, like, I'm like, that victim mentality is not going to help you at all. I'm like, and I kind of get like almost attacky because I'm like, you know, even no matter how I say it, inside I think, bro, you're just being a bitch.
And you're allowed to think that in your head. Absolutely. Like I do the same thing. I'm like, fuck out of here. Like this, what you need to do, you're not doing, and that's it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Right. But I understand that what I think and my goal are two different things. My goal is to get a person from point A to point B. What I think might stop that.
Right.
So instead of just spewing out like you're a pussy, what I can do instead is like, hey man, dude, I get that. Like, or, you know, girl, I get that. Mm-hmm. But let me ask you this. Is the way you're thinking helping you or hurting you? Is the way you're thinking, are you going to be proud of the decision you're making right now? Let's flip that too. Mm-hmm. If you had a daughter or a son and they were thinking the same way you do about yourself, would you give them the same advice in the way that you deal with your shit? Right. Oh, that's different. Yeah. What would you tell them to do differently? Oh, this, and that. So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Why aren't you doing that? Do you see that as a possibility for yourself? Boom. And now the whole time in my head, I'm like, come on, bitch, like, let's go.
Yeah. Right.
But that's what I found is like, to really make change, we have to like lower our impulses of like, trust, I'm hyped for you. Like, I'm passionate. I want to get you to this level, and you're in your own fucking way. Mm-hmm. But I have to control that, because I used to be very aggressive. Like, you're just like, ah.
I'll tell you why I struggle with it. It's because when my life was the worst, if I see those characteristics or symptoms in other people, I hate it, because I hated that version of myself so much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And because you knew the pain, you knew the feeling you had. Like, and dude, same. I just had someone today, because I did like an adaptive fashion show for disabled clothing and stuff. I had someone today who's like, hey man, I have the similar, disability as you, but I've been hiding it for 50 years. Mm-hmm. But I hid it for 17 and it killed me. 50 years. And do you know, like the anger, the frustration, the sadness, like all of those things that kind of come up, and I'm just like, what can you say? Am I going to be the inspirational hero and like, trust me, you can do it? Like, is that going to do anything? Like, what do you do in that case? And there's no right or wrong answer, but I think there are effective and ineffective ways to help people, and you kind of got to figure out who they are and all that. Right. But I get that desire to not have people go through what you went through.
Right. And it's kind of like I let it bubble up a little bit. I'm just like, oh, I can understand. I've been there. I know. But then eventually it's just like, it just goes, something goes off in my head where I'm just like, I see red.
Oh yeah, like, that's I consider that like kind of not emotional endurance, but like endurance in general. Like how much endurance you have to excuses, endurance, I guess we can call it. Right. There are people that fight for their excuses like you're trying to take them from them, and I promise you, I'm not trying to take your excuses. Right. There are people, and this is the unfortunate truth. There are people who are going to live the rest of their lives using their excuse as a crutch to remove responsibility from them ever have to doing anything.
Right. Because you know what, Chris, if I have a belief, or if I have something that I can hang my hat on, oh, I can't do that because I grew up this way. Now I'm off the hook.
It takes responsibility away, and that's conditional learning. It's literally conditional thought process or conditional happiness. I would be happy if I wasn't disabled. Right. I would be happy if this was different than this. If X then Y philosophy, like, they create an obstacle course for themselves that they're never plan on doing, because, it's, this is why I'm allowed to feel this. I feel better. I've given myself that little sense of feeling better because I don't have to do anything. Life is hard because of this. That's it. Nothing else. But
then the dangerous part is, right, if you're in the wrong environment, you'll get rewarded for that. Like, oh, yes. Oh, yes. Let me love on you. Let me love on you.
Facebook groups, you see it in the hashtag groups, you see it in all this stuff. It is literally like an enabling community of people who won't accept responsibility. And the one, I guess 2 words, but 2 different words, mindfulness and awareness. If you are not aware of what's going on, if you don't take a second, I think everyone should do this like weekly. Take a second to step back and be like, is the way I'm thinking or living my life or what I'm doing in my business or my relationships or anything like that, health, wealth, relationships, is what I'm doing leading me towards a life I will be proud of or not? Are the people around me helping me or hurting me? We need systems of checks and balances for ourselves, not politics or anything like that, for ourselves, right, to decide, are we around the right people? Are we around the right thoughts? Are we telling ourselves the right story or the effective story?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, oh man, I need to figure this out, because what I want to do is truly bring the underdogs of the world to the point where they're like, okay, I have to be my own hero, and let's get to work. Yeah. But at the same time, when I throw the fastballs of shut the Europe, you're being this, you're being that, blah, 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 shut up, you bitch, basically.
But think about that. Is that problem focused or solution focused?
Right. And what it's doing is it's alienating people that I actually want to help.
you're creating a defensive thing instead of, putting them in a position. Like, as much as you want to, it's not that you can't, because I don't think there's a right or wrong. I think some people are truly motivated by that kind of shit. There's a reason why Gary Vee is so successful at what he does. He literally calls people an asshole when people buy his books. It's fucking amazing. But you can't assume that everyone is like that. Now you have to learn those people and those behaviors. And that's what I do. Like when I speak, I speak on overcoming adversity or diversity and inclusion or change management. But ultimately it comes down to like behavioral psychology in a sense of understanding who you're talking to, what their value set is, what motivates them, and is your process going to walk them to their goal or not. I'm like one of the only guys that doesn't really know about sports. I have an exercise science degree, and I was the only guy that doesn't know about sports. But I do know that if I wanted to get better at playing basketball, I wouldn't play tennis. So if I want to walk someone to a decision for themselves, I wouldn't do something that's going to take them away from it, Right. That's my system of checks and balances. Like, okay, this is how I feel. All right. Is how I feel, if I say that, is that going to help them or hurt them? That help or hurt thing, I swear to God, that helps me so fucking much. I go to get a candy bar. I'm like, is this going to help me or hurt me? I'm like, motherfucker. And then I ask myself, like, is the consequence worth it? If the consequence is worth it, do it. That's my full belief. If you are willing to accept the consequence, do it. But you have to actually accept the consequence.
Right. And if I want to reach people, I have to meet them where they are, because I was that guy.
Yeah.
And I would have told myself to go fuck himself.
Oh, yeah. You'd have spit in your own face. You would have spit in your own face 100%. You'd have been like, shut the fuck up. You don't know me. Like, It's that immediate same thing. I'm a very different person. If I met me now, back then, I would probably punch me.
Me too.
You get what I'm saying? But I'm becoming the person that I know I need to be so that I can reach and impact more people. When I think true impact comes from people impacting themselves and you just facilitating that process. Right. I don't accept that gurus give success. They give an opportunity for success to be achieved by the person themselves. Right. It's all internal. And I truly believe, a big Stoic philosopher and all that, but I truly believe that internal locus of control and internal drive is what matters. And our job as coaches or influence or whatever you want to say, personal development people, our job is to help them navigate that. When you're navigating, you're not driving.
Right. And you can't.
We want to take the wheel. We're like, this way, bitch. And you just caused a crash,
You just want to drag them over the finish line by their hair. We're like, here.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, like, would they feel?
They wouldn't feel accomplished.
With that, yeah. It's, the whole give a man a fish or teach a man to eat, like teach a man a fish.
And so the reason I'm so, like, literally in my head, it's always be your own hero. All the time. It's just in my head. And the reason that's powerful, because if you think about a belief system that's scalable or something you can leverage in every situation, no matter where you are, it's always that.
Yeah, conceptually, you always have it.
Right.
Now, let's develop on that, because I'm really interested in your kind of thought process. There's two parts to what you just said, be your own hero. There's be, which we have to ask how, and then hero, which how do you define hero? Right. Personally, like, how would you define hero?
Personally, I would define hero as basically a savior in a way. Like you're gonna have to save yourself.
What are they getting saved from?
Whatever. That's what I'm talking about. Like, it's scalable. It can be in every environment, no matter where you are. Even if you have the best police force, if someone breaks in your house, you better get to work for the first 4 or 5 minutes until they show up.
Okay, so conceptually, pretty much save yourself from the problems you're currently facing.
Right.
Okay, and then to do that, how would you? What would be some of those strategies, like awareness, mindfulness, thought process, behaviors? So, and all that's my belief. Different words, but my belief. Stoic philosophy, anything like that, is responsibility, and not just responsibility, but an ability to respond, which is the most important skill and the only thing we're responsible in life. I can't control how you think. Your opinion of me is not my responsibility. My opinion of me is. My thoughts are what I can control. My behaviors are what I can control. And my actions are what I can control. Anything else, I have zero control over. Now, environment, I can choose to leave. I can choose to stay. again, that's my control. That's a behavior. That's an action. Why are we so focused on, things we can't control? We get super obsessed with all the shit we can't control, when in reality, like, we're not focusing on the little things that we can. How are people in other countries, third world countries, that literally have what we consider nothing? How are they happy? Right. I watched this firsthand when I went to Uganda. So happy with what I deemed as nothing. And I'm like, wait, I'm not happy though. Right. Why are they happy? Do they deserve more happiness because they have less? Like, it's not because of anything except for a decision. So we have to walk people to decisions, and we can watch the people who have already made the decisions and see how they did it. But social media has skewed that, because you're like, right. Oh, they're only happy because they have a Lamborghini, because Ty Lopez has his grandma's Lamborghini in his car, in his garage. We have to kind of redefine what a hero means, what success means, and what being means. But I truly believe in that concept.
Mm-hmm. It's just, if you have nobody, that belief can claw you out of the situation you're in, And one of the most impactful books of my entire life came to me probably 10 years ago. It's called Six Pillars of Self-Esteem.
Yes.
And one of them is live responsibly, right? And it's all reality based, which is self-acceptance. Like, if you can't accept yourself, you're screwed, right? And you lived in that world. I've lived in that world. It just eats you up, because if you can't accept the reality, you can't accept what you're not good at, you can't accept your potential. And if you deny your potential, your belief is you don't have anything to aim for, So
I think a lot of people they have obviously different starting points. Like, some people do not accept themselves. And I know I didn't, at a certain point, and I'm fortunate to have made it out. And a lot of people live their life like that, which is why I think what you're doing with this podcast, with your social media, and even, whether you do personal coaching or anything like that, walking people to that self-acceptance, because that's 100% correct. If you have to start with self-acceptance. And that's why in my book, I talk about self-communication, because we spew all this communication is key with relationships, but self-communication is more key. Right. Because you can't communicate with yourself. Why the fuck are you trying to communicate with someone else?
Right.
That doesn't even make sense. Like, we can't give away things we don't have. So that level of self-acceptance, it can be tough. Some people, like, I don't know how to accept myself, because I don't accept that the life I have is good.
Mm-hmm. Or it could be anything. I want to tell you a story about, I was depressed one time. Not fully, but
I was depressed many times, but keep going.
Right, yeah. So you know the feeling. But when you're depressed, you get so inside yourself, right, that you forget to make it yourself relative to other things or people, right? Mm-hmm. So I was like, I have a routine. If I get depressed, I have a belief system that is trying to make me better in some way. So I'm just going to work through it. I'll go to the gym, whatever. But then I saw another guy who I want to get on a podcast just killing it on the bench, I'm like, dude, this guy's ripped as hell. I'm like, sweet. I didn't notice anything else besides, like, he was just boom, boom, just killing it. And then I walk around still kind of feeling sorry for myself, for God knows what reason. Probably I was off course to my goals. I go dark when I'm not living up to my potential, or if I'm not trying.
I remember writing a specific message on your Instagram in your comments talking about happiness and wanting to be happy like other people.
Right. Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a second, but
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. And so then I roll around to a machine, and I see this guy in his wheelchair.
Yeah.
I didn't know his legs didn't work. He's killing it.
Yeah.
And like, I'm going to get him on the podcast. His name's Josh Hammer.
Okay.
Doesn't make excuses for shit.
Yeah.
Ever. I'm just like, so I just started laughing as I was sitting on my machine, just started laughing. And then the self-talk started, like, man, you are a punk bitch. You can't even, like, like, just shut up.
Yeah. I mean, like, we see that all the time, man. Like, there are always going to be people who you deem have it worse or better than you. But at the end of the day, people just have it how they have it. That we sprinkle, like, extra shit on the story we tell ourselves. Because what happened was a dude was benching. Right. But the story we told ourselves is a dude who seemingly had a hard life is doing really well, which that's all a story you told yourself, because maybe he was born that way and maybe that's all he's ever known. So he doesn't adapt. He just lives. And maybe that's it, you know, but we kind of tell ourselves something to fit the feeling and narrative that we currently have at the moment.
Right. Confirm our own bias.
Ourselves. Yeah. Confirmation bias. We're feeling a certain way about ourselves, and we see a guy in a Lamborghini and like, I wish, must be nice. You know, that must be nice video.
Oh, God, I hate that. I hate that phrase, man.
But think about it. Like we do that all the time, but we have to catch that shit. And I have a concept that catch, challenge, change. I don't know if you ever heard that. But
so become aware of it.
Yeah.
See if it's true.
Yeah. And that shit really helps me, because like you gotta catch yourself on that shit. Like if you're having that down moment, I guess disclaimer, there is actual clinical depression that needs to be treated by a professional. Like that kind of depression you need help, you know. But in terms of stuff that we can control, you have to be willing to be aware. And it always goes back to that mindfulness stuff, and not like a positivity hippie who's in a burning building and chants positive affirmation. Like, get the fuck out of the building.
Right. Yeah. It's time to go.
Yeah. I'm talking about like real shit. Like mindfulness does not have to be a Zen Buddha thing. It's literally like, hey dude, is this true? Do you suck? Like, why do we keep feeling this way? Like, is this thought true? That's a protective mechanism to stop you from the pain of not achieving something. Mm-hmm. Because we tell ourselves, if we try and fail, it's going to hurt. So don't do it. You suck because I'm going to save you from pain. I appreciate the protective mechanism, fucking crazy ass mind. But instead, I'm going to move forward a different direction. You have to be willing to have those conversations with yourself, you know? And I get pumped up about this kind of shit because I'm like, I'm speaking to myself.
Right, exactly.
I'm really speaking to myself on this because there are up and down moments in my life. And
I was going to ask you about that, actually.
Of course, yeah.
I was going to ask you about when in your life, first of all, when did you completely doubt yourself in some environment? And then throughout the process, you start believing in yourself, and then you feel like someone else still doubts you. Like, I have a chip on my shoulder at all times, you know, and there's something about it where I don't want to lose it, because I'm like, it gives me the extra something, you know?
And I'm going to challenge you on that like a motherfucker right now. The chip was placed by you, and the chip is kept by you.
Right.
And the chip does nothing. It's your decision about the chip to do something. So couldn't we also choose to do something without the chip being there? You know, do we need that external driver, or are we just using that as a crutch? Because at the end of the day, crutches don't work by themselves.
Right. That's true. And I use it as like,
who uses it?
I do.
Okay. I just want.
Yeah. Okay. If things are like too easy or going really well,
yeah,
I'll have to make up a fake enemy. Like, you think I can't go to the next level, huh?
That's your driver. And that's cool, but that's all you. So I would take like proud responsibility that you did that, not the chip, but you did that shit. Now, I will say this, like there were moments where when I was growing up, I was fortunate to have like good parents, you know, they were actually ass poor, but they were always like, you can do what you want. But it wasn't like you can do what you want, so here's the path. Like, you can do what you want because we're supposed to say that, you know? And people are like, oh, you can do anything. It wasn't true belief in me, you know? It was, I'm talking about everyone, not just parents, but like everyone. It's not that people doubted me outwardly. I knew they did inwardly. But they were just like, you're so great. You little disabled boy, you can do anything, you know? And that kind of stuff really got to me because I was like, damn. People are just saying that because of my circumstance, and I can't even control that. You're kind of putting me in a box of like, hey, this is life, and like I wouldn't expect to be too great, but you can definitely do something. Mediocrity fucking kills me,
dude. It's my worst enemy,
personally, because satisfaction is the death of desire for me. That's how I work, and you don't have to work like that, but that's how I work. So there were moments where I doubted myself. And I started to build success on social media and in my life in powerlifting. You know, competitive powerlifter, broke a world record, a bunch of state records, competing against non-disabled guys, lifting 675 pounds. Like, that's cool and all on paper, but to me, it was never enough. And I had this never enough philosophy because I was never present. I was always chasing something that didn't exist. And the second it existed, something else didn't exist because it was the next goal. I would always strive for more. And I could never put the two concepts together of being happy with where you are while also striving for more.
Right.
It wasn't until recently that I was able to accept that.
Yeah.
And I have to actively, which I fucking hate this, I have to actively tell myself, you know what? You did the shit out of that the other day. You did fucking good. And that makes me want to like kind of vomit a little bit. But I have to accept that I have done a lot of good shit, dude. I am proud of like the shit I overcame and the shit I did, like the little stuff and the big stuff, you know. Social media might see me like, bro, you did a TV show with The Rock, you did this, must be nice, anything like that. But the biggest feat for me was taking that glove off and going into Walmart, dude. Not Target, Walmart, of all fucking places, you know, to be able to go into public and be me. That mattered to me. So like, you don't know what people struggle through. Again, you don't understand. I don't want you to, but I want you to hear me and saying like, my goals and what I am proud of are different, but I also still work for more now because I have to have both for me to have quality of life. Otherwise, I'm never going to live. I'm always going to be chasing.
Yeah, and that's the hardest balance to find is like pursuing a goal.
Yeah.
Thinking big, but then every little notch along the way or every little moment being mindful and be like, all right, I'm grateful for this journey. I'm enjoying it. But at the same time, don't lose your edge. Don't lose your focus on the goal. It's like a crazy balance.
Even what you said, like, and I truly believe words are powerful. Like the way we talk to us, even little words, the word but I try and cut out a lot of my speech just because it kind of takes the weight off the first part, you know. Right. I'm truly grateful, but you know, it's like it's always that. And if anyone is fighting with their significant other, don't say the word but, say the word and. It will save you a ton. You said, you know, it's hard to find that balance, and it's not hiding, it's a decision. It's not hiding because it's really not hidden. It's making you understand, accept, and eventually believe what you did was good. Yeah. Like I can see the little bits, bro. I see so much of myself in you. Like it's so crazy. We have those little bits of like self-sabotaging thoughts that come into play, like something that's obviously amazing, like to commit to something and see it through and be rewarded. That's incredible, regardless of what it is. But even in something so good, we kind of like, but it's not really what I want, but it's good, but it's not really what I want, but it's unnecessary because at the end of the day, you did something, you committed to something, you achieved something, and you unlocked multiple levels of something. We always try and downplay our successes because that's who we are as people. You're very similar to me in the sense of we're strive for more type of people. And that's, I know, settle for less type of people that are so happy it would make us jealous.
Right. I feel like ignorance is bliss. Like if they don't know their potential.
Even worse. What happens if they know and they just don't want it?
Ooh, man. I feel like that's hell. That's like living hell.
You know what's funny though? Your feelings don't matter to them.
I know.
And that's why it drives you crazy and they're the ones happy. Right. But what's the goal of our lives? What's the goal of your life?
My life?
Yeah, what's the goal?
To find meaning out of all the shit that I went through. Use it for good so that good has the final word, you know?
Okay. So would you, and this is completely your opinion, would you say meaning is found or given?
I think found. But in a weird way, it's kind of given because these are your circumstances, and then you have the choice to use them for good or bad.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like
you have a choice to. It's almost like finding something that you put there yourself.
Right.
If you want to find meaning in discomfort or meaning in failure, you can do it. You can find, I'm literally just a pawn in the game of life, and I was one of those shitty people that was meant to have nothing. That's my meaning. I found that. I didn't really find that. I fucking made that. I just did it in my head. I literally walked myself through my entire life on why I suck. Versus I can also find, so I love the concept of finding, defining, and anything like that, and giving it back, which is awesome. You know, I truly believe that people's goal in life is to have quality of life. At some point, I think it should be lived all the time. And quality of life can still include the suck. You know, I think
Right.
some people try and remove the shitty parts in life, and you can't know bad without good.
Right. Man,
And you can't know there's an Italian concept called chiaroscuro, which is like dark versus light. You can't know pleasure without pain, because then you have no reference. So in trying to remove all of the bad, you're removing context. You know, the power of moments. Can you recall every moment you were kind of content? Fuck no. But you can recall those bad moments that you made it through and you're like, I fucking did that. The whole story you told me in the beginning was how you went through adversity and you ended up coming out of it in a certain way. Pain is an amazing story. It's an amazing thing to overcome. When we go through it, it sucks. But when we look back at it, we're like, I did that. You
right.
know, we chose to we chose to pull meaning from something that happened in general, you know? So I don't want to remove the bad parts out of life, because I don't think there's bad. I think there's just life. Life just happens and we adapt and flex around it, you know?
Yeah. And life's hard. So you gotta.
I wouldn't even say life's hard at that. I would just say life is, because like hard is defined by us, you know?
Yeah,
What's
that's
funny is,
true.
we have all these obstacles and we're like, oh, this fucking sucks. Obstacles suck. And then people will pay $400 to do an obstacle course race.
Mm-hmm.
They will literally go do things that are hard because they feel proud about making it out on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
But
And I
when things
think
are hard in life, you're like, oh no, this sucks.
right. I think what I mean by hard is like things that are obstacles that weren't put there by you, and now it's either fold or confront that obstacle head on. You know,
Absolutely.
like because the obstacles, if you're having a life with no obstacles right now and everything is going smooth, just wait a little bit, and the next obstacle will be right around the corner. You
Yeah,
know, and
yeah,
then in that moment, you have the decision to make. How are you going to handle that?
for sure. And I think I kind of relate it to driving. You know, when you're behind someone and you have to go somewhere, so you're going to be on the same road for a long time. You're behind someone and you have the decision to stay behind the person or go around them. You're like, but I want to stay here. I want to stay in this lane. Well, if you stay in that lane, you're probably going to go slower. If you stay in that lane, there's probably going to be traffic. If you stay in that lane, honestly, it's closed up ahead, so you're
Right.
not going to go anywhere. The awareness of traffic is, I kind of relate that to the awareness of like what's going on in your life. You can't control the traffic. You didn't put the construction there. You didn't do any of that. You can't control Miriam, who's 900 years old and can't see above the steering wheel and about to hit you.
Right.
You can choose to drive differently. You can choose to maneuver. You can choose when you need to slow down, because life is not always speeding up, you know? But at the end of the day, like if you're going towards gratitude or meaning or quality of life, that path is not going to be the same lane.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be in the military and I fought past my disability for so many years until right when I got accepted past the disability, I got diagnosed with diabetes. And you
Right.
cannot join the military with diabetes. Now, I was deciding that my identity was them. And that's when I decided that I suck. And a little after that, I proved myself wrong, because then I found fitness and I started working with a kid with cerebral palsy, and he couldn't really walk or talk much, but like he was an amazing kid. And I loved this kid. And he couldn't do much, but he tried and tried and tried. And I worked with him in fitness, and he ended up running on the beach for the first time. And I watched this kid's tenacity of just enjoying life. Every time he fell down, he laughed. I'm like, dude, that's the wrong response. When you fall, you're supposed to cry. He's like, fucking
Right.
lie, you know, like,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, you're not normal. And I was like, wait a minute. Maybe that's a good thing, dude. Maybe
Yeah.
that's a good thing. Maybe chasing happiness based off what other people are doing or seemingly doing, because we'll never know. We don't know what people feel. We only know what they say they feel, or they're performative, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe we can decide our own forms of happiness. Some people are extremely happy staying inside and watching Netflix. You don't feel like you have, and I know that's weird to you, but we can't invalidate other people, because if that's what they truly are happy with, who are we to say that's not good?
Yeah. I don't know, but I feel like saying it.
I know. Oh, trust me. But that, dude, I love you, because I understand that wanting to come out feeling and just like,
Yeah.
But when we understand that people are different, you know, like
I know.
you would never tell a kid in a third world country who has no access to what we can do in life, saying like, dude, you need to leave this place. You'd be so much happier. You'd be like, oh, that's kind of shitty to say.
Right.
So why do we do that with other people? You know, like, oh, but you can. Like, but can they? Because what happens if the way they think or the way they want to live life or experience life is their way?
Yeah.
You know? Some people only want to cosplay. That's fucking weird to me. I'm not a cosplayer, but they love that. Some people love knitting. I hate knitting. Also, I have 7 fingers. I'm a terrible knitter, you know?
Yeah.
There's a quote that's wrongly attributed to Albert Einstein, but if you judge a fish's ability to climb a tree, it'll grow up its whole life thinking it's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
If we judge people based on our goals, we're going to think everyone's an asshole.
I know. Recently, Chris, I came to like this enlightenment a couple years ago, maybe. And I'm not saying that I have it down, but I've come to the awareness that, hey, so it was actually my wife's sister asked me, Mike, do you judge people that don't have as many goals as you?
Ooh.
I was like, for sure. I think it's pretty pathetic to just be okay being average.
Oh.
She's like, for real? I'm like, and then her husband's like, what if I just want to come home and have a beer and I enjoyed time watching the movie with my wife? I'm like, every night? Like, yeah. I'm just like, you know what? And finally, I'm to the point where like everybody doesn't have to be the same. You know,
and life
you just be you.
So boring. Everyone would be trying to sell each other a course if everyone was, you know, like,
right?
We'd have no buyers because everyone would be sellers. You know, like and oh god, I'm gonna say this, and I'm probably gonna get fucking roasted for this, but like I'm not saying this in a negative way whatsoever. But the reason society relatively works, there's so much better ways to do it, I'm sure. But people do things, you know, like people bring you food. I served at one point. I worked at an arts and crafts store at one point. Like I did my duties in different jobs, you know?
Right. Yeah.
There are different points in different people's lives where they do certain jobs that allow certain people to do things. Like someone picks up trash. They get paid really well, you know, in that area, but that's what they do. And they are completely okay doing that. Mm-hmm. There are other people who will die miserable because they're chasing something that they think they should be doing. They want more so much that they never lived. They die unhappy. Whether they have a lot of money or a little money, they die not using the money that they told themselves they need to be happy, but never had happiness. Mm-hmm. There's so many different types of people and different goals. And like, it would be exhausting for me to try and mold everyone into me.
Right. And you end up just, the grip around their neck just gets tighter when you're trying to mold them into.
What's so funny about this, like, mind-blowing moment, we tell ourselves we want to be effective and like we want to accomplish our goals, right?
Right.
But we're so busy trying to mold other people that now we stopped working on our goals.
Right.
We're just trying to change people.
Yeah. Be more like me.
Why are we wasting our time? Why are we wasting our time doing that? You know, we're angry at them for not doing what they need to do, but we're actively not doing what we need to do by being angry at them for not doing what they need to do.
Right. And so, because I always think like a marketing lens, right? The best marketers don't convince people they need something. The best marketers meet people where they are.
Yes.
Right. And they just say, hey, you have a desire? I have this.
No one likes to be sold, but everyone loves to buy.
Yeah.
So I have a marketing sales background as well. I own a protein bar company and I do the marketing for them. I'm the CMO. Mm-hmm. And I did personal training sales and a bunch of shit in the day, but like, that's what really got me interested in behavior. And to me, it's like a chess game of like, they're trying to sell you on their bullshit. You're trying to sell them on your bullshit, and like, who wins?
Right.
And I'm like, man, past sales and personal training and all that stuff, all conversations are sales. Like right now it's a sale of your concepts, my concepts. And like, there's no real win or loss, but we're just getting our sales pitch across, so to speak, our philosophy, mm-hmm. or whatever, you know, and merging the two and finding where they fit in each other. I think sales is a huge concept, and it kind of teaches you like, hey, do not force this down your throat. There are people, car salesmen, who say you need to buy this car.
Right.
But a good leader or coach, in my opinion, does not tell people what to do, but asks them where they are and sees how they can service them, you know?
Right. Yeah. Hmm. I'm with you. I feel
Uh,
like we're very similar, but
very,
we use
very.
different words, you know?
Absolutely. And that's what I love is the different perspectives, because there's so many things you said where I'm just like, oh shit. I love that. Like that perspective to me, like that perspective shift. There's the same concepts we've been talking about for hundreds of years.
Right.
Over university, from Marcus Aurelius to like any leader, we've been saying the same shit. But where we benefit as individuals is we get to take a concept that already exists and give it our individuality, which might help a person who hasn't quite been able to grasp that.
Yeah.
You know? And that's why I feel like it's our job to like share stories and messages and all that, because you never know. I vow to be the person I never had growing up. So that's why I tell stories and messages.
Ah. Aha. I was wondering what made you tick.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah.
you kind
That's
of
that's
pulling
a big
back the
driver.
onion.
That's a big driver for me. So like I know that it's my job to continue, not tell my story, because my story is just a vessel for the messages that I deliver. That's why I'll never stop, you know? And unfortunately, I feel like a lot of people don't find that, or they
Mhm.
don't look enough for that. It kind of dropped into my lap, so I'm fortunate about that. But yeah, I think we always have to question, like, what drives you, you know?
Yeah. You know, the people I feel the sorriest for, and I shouldn't,
You shouldn't, but keep going.
but so I was aware of, I was aware of that problem.
But I love that. I love that. You said it and you immediately, I saw the face you made, which you guys probably couldn't see, but
Yeah.
you immediately went into that, like, okay, cool. I love
Right.
it. Keep going, keep
Like,
going.
but I can't imagine what it would be like to not be a self-made person. Like all of a sudden, let's just say, like, rich kids or like celebrity kids or whatever, suicide rate is so high because they're like, here you go. Your life's super easy. Make
Yeah,
it meaningful.
yeah,
And you have all the resources you need, all the support you need. And then there's like this crushing expectation on these people, like
yeah.
to be Will Smith's son, or
Well,
whatever.
realistically, is life easy for them? You know, it's life is hard in a different way. To people, like, I grew up poor. When I like started shifting into like chasing entrepreneurship and all that, I would get angry at rich kids and rich people. I'm
I
like,
hated rich people.
you know
Now I'm
why?
opposite.
Jealousy is jealousy.
Yeah.
It's jealousy. It's envy. It's like, if I had that, I would do so much more than you.
Hmm.
Well, guess what? You don't, and
Right.
you're not them.
And
They only know what they know, and you only know what you know. So when they experience life with that high expectations, it's even worse on a person like that to hear someone like us say, you have it easy, and they're like, fuck, dude, I'm struggling, and no one believes them.
right.
No one gives them a chance to hurt in their own way because they think it's not good enough. And like,
Yeah.
I can imagine that side of things. So uh empathy and emotional intelligence is something I've had to actively work towards, because I was very resistant to other people's struggles. I'm like, dude, you're literally a pussy. Like, you just have to try
Right.
harder. You just have to try harder. You just have to do more.
Right.
And I'm like, don't be a baby, just fucking do it. And when I started to like really force myself to get into like emotional intelligence, to become a better leader for myself and to become more empathetic and trying to get why people are where they are so that I can help them get out of it or do something, it really made me step back and be like, I've been going about this all wrong. I've
Yeah.
been I've been getting angry because of my own feelings and my insecurities and my desires, and I made their struggles about me. And that's the most selfish shit in the world.
Yeah. You,
So it's tough, man.
yeah. You hit on something that drives me crazy. Well, two things. First, do you know what a Panera bread is?
Yes, we have them down
Okay.
here.
So, so it's not like a high class place, right? It's not
No,
like some big 5-star restaurant, but
better than McDonald's, but definitely not like a restaurant.
right. So I was with my girlfriend at the time, and I was in high school, and we drove down to like the big city metro area where they had Paneras. And she was like, let's go to the Panera. I'm like, no, fuck that place. She's like, what? I'm like, I'm not eating with a bunch of rich people. Because, like,
What?
dude, like a nice meal to me was like Arby's. I was like,
Yeah, that's so funny.
Panera's the next level. I'm like, fuck all those rich people.
That's so funny.
But it was just like my perception was like the rich kids always teased me, but
Oh,
really
yeah.
it wasn't the rich kid. It was just kids and
Yeah.
mostly in the middle class.
Yeah.
Like,
But we tell ourselves a story and we repeat it so much that
right.
Dude, I had a friend who like, I had to like actively walk out of like racism and implicit bias and all these things. You know, we have a bunch of stuff down here, like different types of Hispanic food. And there's one place called La Granja that it's really good, like Peruvian food. And he lives right by one. I was like, bro, let's go to La Granja. He's like, ew. He's like, I don't eat Mexican. I'm like, one, it's not Mexican, it's Peruvian. He's like, same thing. I'm like, have you ever seen a map in the world? Like they're very, very different. He's like, yeah, what is it? Rice and chicken? I'm like, well, everywhere has rice and chicken. And I literally had to walk him through this, and I took him to the place. And he's like, whoa, this shit is good.
Right. Exactly.
But you see, so many people are stuck in the way that they think that they haven't even given themselves a chance to think outside of that box, you know? And for me, dude, I had such a bad relationship with money. Still to this day, I'm working on it. I clutch my debit card when I swipe it because I've had it deny for Taco Bell.
Right.
You know, I've had moments where like
making life decisions on a ramen soup.
Yeah, dude. Like, and I'm talking about like I've stolen shit so I can afford to do. Like, I was at that point, and I had a friend who was even more broke than me. You know, growing up in the neighborhood, and if I had $10, we had $5 each because I'll never let my buddy like go down like that.
Yeah.
I know I have money in my account now, and I still panic when it's
the nervous system is a bitch. It doesn't forget.
It doesn't, and it's something we have to actively work through is our past trauma, or you say trauma, but like our past just experiences, you know, in general, and being aware, like you said before, like recognize it, catching yourself in that moment, like, oh, rich people just don't get it. I'm like, they just get it differently, you know. Different is not bad, and we can't get angry at different, but we can have our personal feelings towards it. Because trust me, when I see a rich kid be like, "Oh, I've lost water," I'm like, kill you.
Yeah.
You know, but like I get you, dude. I really do get you.
Yeah, and the second thing you said was like I can't remember what it was, but it was basically telling. It's like something that drives me crazy is like anybody telling anybody else how they should spend their money. Like, if you had that money, like, okay, you shouldn't tell Jeff Bezos what to do with his money until you build an Amazon.
Exactly.
So then you can shut the hell up.
It's I hate that if I was you mentality. If I was you, I'd be so successful. If I had a disability like you, I'd be milking it. Bro, if you stopped talking and started doing, you wouldn't have to imagine life being different. You would experience life being different.
Yeah.
It's that simple, you know? So that's a push off of responsibility too, to go back to our earlier conversation. By saying you should, you shouldn't, but you take responsibility off what you should be doing.
Right.
And trying to throw stones at other people because no one wants to hit themselves with the stone they need to be hit by.
Right. What's it like if, so you're kind of on obviously up and coming right now, right? And what's it like when someone says, because I'm sure it happens, you know, maybe not to your face or whatever, but people are like, oh, he's only at that level because he made it on the show. Because
I get that all the time. I get it. They don't realize. Oh yeah, everyone tries to discredit you to make themselves feel better as to why they're at where they're at.
I just want to wow.
Dude, after I did the show, I got maybe like 14,000 followers from the show, but I had built my shit up to like 50,000 before then. So all the footwork was done way before the TV show. Right. You know, I was very thankful for the show. Yeah, exactly. And people still to this day like, oh man, must be nice that you got on TV show, you know, that you get all these opportunities. They see the iceberg, the tip of the iceberg. They don't see all the work and all the failure. They don't see that 2 years ago, I walked into Vitamin Shop. I have a professional degree. I've worked with hundreds of clients all around the world. I made lots of money and I've done lots of cool things and traveled. My resume looks really fucking cool on paper. But I was so fucking depressed and struggling because I was striving for more and it just wasn't happening and I felt like I was failing that I tried to quit. I fucking physically tried to quit. I made a resume.
And tried to go back to being normal.
Yep. Exit. I tried to exit the life.
Avoiding your meaning.
I quit. I got the resume. I made it look super nice and I walked into a vitamin shop for a $12 an hour position.
And like, what the fuck?
The owner. And he looked at it and he looked at me and he said no. And I was like, what do you mean? I was like, dude, I am fucking definitely qualified. I know everything about supplements and exercise science. Like, I'm a great speaker. He's like, this is doing you such a disservice. He's like, what's going on? And I told him, I was like, dude, I need health insurance. I need this. He's like, have you tried this? Have you tried this? And he's like, I'm going to tell you what, man, I truly believe that like, if you go back to like what you've been doing, like you just experiencing a bad thing. He's like, I can't hire you. I realistically, I don't have the heart to hire you. And I'm so thankful for that dude for not hiring me and not allowing me to quit. And after that, probably like 2 or 3 weeks later, things started to pick up and never looked back. So, but people don't see that. They see on everywhere else, like, oh, he was just on People TV. He was on this, he was on that, he did this. But what about me as a person? Like, what about those in between those success moments you see? I still fucking struggle. I still want more. I still strive for more. Like, I still hurt. I still bleed, you know? I've spent years building this shit up. And the fruits of my labor are barely starting to come out. Right. But you're mad that you can't buy a plant that's already made and just have it, you know? Right. So it's just.
So to be totally honest, I didn't even know anything about you until you made that first comment, or I commented on one of your things or something.
Oh yeah. I commented on your stuff, and then like you had that post where you're talking about happiness, and I was like, anytime I catch something where I'm like, I feel like I have something valuable to add, I did that. And then I was like, oh, fuck it. That was awesome. And then we started talking a little bit, but I love that genuine sense of connection. That's not through like a, hey, you're cool or whatever. Like, it's just real, you know?
It was strictly based on like, you're my kind of guy.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm going to go to war with someone, it's going to be.
I got you. Yeah. I'm definitely the type of, I'll kill some motherfucker. But I also, you see, like on my social media and stuff, like I'm me. I don't try and be an influencer. I hate that shit. I don't try and be like perfect. I post whatever the fuck I want. And if it doesn't do good, I don't give a fuck because this is my life.
Yeah. And if you lose a lot of followers and because I go on those rants, you know.
Dude. You don't lose followers. You lose people who weren't there to follow you in the first place.
Exactly.
So like that, and I learned that from a few friends. They're like, dude, what does it matter to have numbers of people who aren't really bought into you and believe in you? You know?
Yeah.
What is that false sense of like security in the sense of numbers? You know, quantity does not matter. No one tries to achieve quantity of life.
Right.
You know, quality of life is what matters.
Right. All right. I'm going to ask you some generic questions.
Cool.
Because I love books, and I just want to know like maybe like a top 3. Just tell me a couple books that you have read multiple times, because that usually means something.
For sure. Do I have the other one right now? No. This one is a game changer for me. Game changer. Absolute game changer. I have given this to so many people. The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. Ryan Holiday was the first author I read, and then I read every single one of his books multiple times, all the time. I still go back to this a lot, and it's absolutely incredible. Stoic philosophy, but basically turning obstacle into opportunity with a perspective shift. And this has been this is my best book. My best book. There's the other one. I have another one called The Mountain Is You. The Mountain Is You.
I've never heard of that one. I've read The Obstacle is the Way. I love the story about moving the rock and the treasure is actually right under the.
Yes. So Obstacle is the Way was my number 1 book up until maybe 4 months ago. And Brianna Wiest is the most talented writer I have ever encountered in my fucking life. The level.
Say the book again.
Brianna Wiest. So the main book that she wrote that got me into her was 101 Essays That Will Change Your Life. The book is long as shit. It's like Harry Potter time. But dude, holy shit, this book is I have to stop every like 5 seconds and go to my notes and like write shit down because I'm like, everything she drops is a banger. And it just the way she has been able to take this massive concept of like life's things and like put it into words. So 101 Essays That'll Change Your Life by Brianna Wiest, and then The Mountain Is You by Brianna Wiest. Those 2 books are bangers. The third like real game changer for me that helped me with interaction is The Like Switch.
The Like Switch?
Like Like.
Is it a blue book?
It's I think it's red. And it has a light switch on it, but it was by an FBI person who talks about the science of likability and how to get people to like you. Basically, it's kind of like manipulation, but not really. But it's really cool because like little stuff like that, like you guys can't see what I just did, but I just did it to him. I started shaking my head and he started shaking his head, because it elicits response in body language. And it's a really cool way to learn personability and charisma type tactics. So I read all kinds of shit, but those are like my instant go-tos.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. Dude, I have the hardest time being the charismatic.
Charisma carries me. I'm a big believer in like charismatic leadership. You don't have to be full. I'm like super charismatic and I can turn it on and off. But I think it's a good skill to use in certain scenarios, you know?
Right. Like, I just want to be that, you know, I don't know if you've seen the video, but Hugh Jackman, when he sings the song that was trying to get The Greatest Showman greenlit.
Yeah.
And where he just, all the practice and all the moment just came together and just
perfect and literally incredible. Like incredible.
He owned the moment completely.
Yes.
He's like, oh my God, like I need an alter ego that's Hugh Jackman at that moment.
Oh man. I love it though. Like that. I'm fortunate to like have a natural set of charisma, but before it was like really inauthentic because I tried to use charisma as a way to cover up my lack of confidence.
Right.
But now that I've like fully accepted myself and have that confident, you know, type vibe, the charisma, people ask, why are people so drawn to you? And I just learned to listen. I've learned to like, charisma is not about you being a fun person. It's about you truly being invested in the people around you, even when you don't feel like it. So some of it's natural, some of it takes a lot of effort, but there's so many little things you can do to be more charismatic and more likable. And not that you need to be likable because you want people to like you, but you need to be likable to have open ears to deliver the message you want to deliver.
Right. Instead of screaming at people.
Yeah. You got to ask what's going to keep their ears open, you know?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's not yelling at them like their angry dad.
But if they like that, though, again, there's complete cultures behind that shit. People fucking love that. So, like, you got to know, like, Andy Frisella, I know, and like.
Sure. See, that stuff gets me hyped up. Or like Dan Pena, just screaming at me like, I'm fucking worthless. Let's go.
So I'm actually hoping he has my book right now, and I'm hoping he's the cover quote on the top.
Right. Sweet.
But I've always listened to his perspective, and like he would be aggressive, but he had really good fucking points, you know? And his messages are driven in like authenticity. They're not driven in hype, you know? And that's, if you're yelling because you're a hype guy, I see through your bullshit. So
you're like a carnival barker.
Like, stop, man. You're a chihuahua. Like, that's not what it's at. But like, if your message is true and you're hyped because you really believe in your message, you know, I'm all for it.
Right. So what's the name of your book one more time? So people.
It's called The Upper Hand, and it'll be out May 4th.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm going to send you a copy. I got a few more advanced reading copies. So I'd love for you to check it out. Let me know what you think. And then for any of the people out there, I am always available. So if you guys message me, like, just if you ever want advice or just want to shoot the shit, conversations like this, I'm always down, dude. I love this kind of stuff.
Yeah. What's your Instagram handle?
Instagram is just my name, at Chris Ruden. My website is chrisruden.com.
All right. I'll put it all in the show notes and stuff.
Cool.
Dude, it was great talking to you, man.
I appreciate you, dude. It got me hype. I feel like I got to go work out again. I'm all into it. I'm like, my heart rate is like 180. Like, we're good. We're good. I appreciate it, dude. This is a great conversation.
No, I love when like minds from two different parts of the world get together, man.
We just go. I love it. I love it.
All right, man.
I know.
All right, everybody. We're out of here. And remember, your hero is in the mirror.
That's
I'm
right.
out of here.
See you
Bye,
guys.
Chris.